Ferguson. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. The Mayor and Council wish to acknowledge the town of Fort Smith is located within Treaty 8 territory. Treaty 8 territory also encompasses the traditional homelands of Salt River First Nation, Smith Landing First Nation, and the Indigenous Métis people of Fort Smith. These nations have maintained stewardship of their sacred lands throughout the generations, and we honor your knowledge, teaching, traditions, and the land. We are mindful that colonization has not been kind, and we respectfully recognize our generational histories and commit to strive for unity in the spirit of truth and reconciliation. There's no statement or declaration of financial interest. There is no delegations. No? Okay. Then I need someone to move the agenda.
I move the agenda be adopted as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any additions or adjustments? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Okay, agenda has been carried. In your packages, you had the minutes from the April 9th meeting. Is there any business arising from those minutes? Councillor Cruvette?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one point under the April 9th Protective Services minutes, item number 6, administration, paragraph D. We were talking about home occupations, and the one in particular, there was some discussion that the person might be applying for home occupation in a residence that is receiving a tax exemption. And there was a suggestion within the discussion that we need to look at this and further follow up on it. And I just want to keep this as an active agenda item. And sort of, I guess, maybe even looking to administration for some direction on the next steps. Because in the minutes, it suggests a review, and I think it has to move from a suggestion to an action of that it is actively looked into, and what part of which acts or bylaws do we need to look at to reflect, and should, like, I know there's probably the zoning or not, well, the zoning bylaw, for example, also our mill rate bylaws, and possibly one or two other bylaws that may be impacted, like the seniors and disabilities tax benefit bylaw, those. So if we could get some further direction and how we best address this.
Thank you. Any other comments, discussion? Do you want to make a formal motion or suggestion?
That was I was going to suggest maybe I'll put forward a motion then that administration prepare a briefing note on the appropriate actions that need to be taken to address this.
You're seconding.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion on the motion on the floor? Okay, all in favor? Oh, Councilor Campbell?
Even with his motion of the home occupations, we should be only giving them out for a year. Let them every year come in and get another application form and put it out too. Because it just, we're getting so many, and it's for the business community that have businesses operating out of things. When they operate from home, they get a big advantage. We should be pushing them to get out and find a lot and build something or develop some lots of our own. Thanks.
All right. Any other comments? All in favor? Okay, motion carried. Any other minutes or any other business arising from the minutes from April 9th? Okay, so moving on the agenda, you have your vision and values. They're always in our packages. And And then we have our director's report. So you have the Protective Services Director's Report from 2024. Do you have any questions? Mayor Daniels?
Yeah, just when it comes to reports, I need more information on this stuff. Because when people ask me something out there and I don't have any word for them, then it becomes a problem. So going forward, I need more information on all this stuff. What's happening in County Beer Park? What's happening with our intake? So that's what I would like to get more often. Thanks.
Is there anything else for the Protective Services Director's Report? Okay, so seeing none, then we're moving on to the Protective Services statistics. They're provided here in your package. You'll have your statistics from EMS, Fire Department, Ambulance, Land and Development, Bylaw. Is there any questions or concerns? Councilor Cravette? Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The previous meeting, I had suggested that our protective services, it might be very beneficial for them to undergo some training on the wildfire interface. Sorry? I'm not sure. Yeah, but so that our volunteers are better trained in assisting and responding to fires outside of the regular structural fires, small bush fires and things like that. And it'd be nice to know that something is in the works for that.
Thank you. SEO?
Hi there. We're actually looking at, we have, so it is the Wildfire Urban Interface, WUI. We are actually looking into what the options are around that and the costing. There is somebody who is trained in town, but they don't have a train the trainer certificate. So we're looking at what our options were around actually having them trained so they can deliver the training here in town instead of having to send people out or bring someone in. So we are looking into it. Whether it'll happen in the next month or two, probably not, but it is in the plan and we are reviewing our options for that.
Thank you. Any other questions for Protective Services statistics? Deputy Mayor?
It's not about statistics. I was just wondering if there's any thought or consideration given to perhaps having an extra person on board in protective services for fire protection, that type of thing, or coordination just for the summer months till our director who's on leave decides if they're coming back or not. Just a thought.
SAO?
We're discussing options right now. We are having that discussion and sort of looking at what our various options are.
Any other questions for Protective Services statistics? Okay. All right, seeing none, we're going to move on the agenda. We have Sustainable Development Advisory Board. Deputy Mayor, you sit on that board? No? Okay. Anyway. Oh, okay. All right. So if we'll have a recommendation for that.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. There was no report. The Sustainable Advisory Board did not have quorum to meet for their last meeting. There's actually a meeting scheduled tomorrow for lunch. But there was a recommendation coming forward. And I move that Ken Ream be appointed to the Sustainable Development Advisory Board for a 2-year term ending December 31st, 2025.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Okay, motion is carried. Okay, moving on the agenda, there's nothing under our bylaw, policy and review and development. We have now administration. Several briefing notes, so we'll start on the first one.
I move that the variance request submitted by Coulter Friend for the expansion of a caretaker unit, CPOW Production Limited, Lot 1767, Plan 4325 at 57 Highway 5 in Fort Smith is, and there's a blank line. We haven't discussed this, so. Yes.
I need a seconder.
I'll second.
Discussion? No discussion? Councillor Cravette?
Yeah, I guess just for further clarity, based on the information in the briefing note and other information provided, that this the variance was already over the initial or the amount as stated in the zoning bylaw and was grandfathered in under previous approvals. So I just think, yeah, I just wanted to clarify that this is considered a grandfathered approval, and that since there is actually no additional footprint, increase in the footprint, that the original grandfathered provision takes precedence on this.
SAO?
Okay, I just want to point out that, yes, there was an original variance that has been grandfathered in. The 80 square feet is the allowable allowance, and it is currently at 125. There is the danger of setting a precedent around leading to possible increased residential uses in commercial and industrial zones. So it's already over. It's already been grandfathered in at over its allowable mark, and they're looking at creating another, just spreading it out, actually adding on to it beside it on the roof. So I just want council to consider the impacts of setting that precedent before they make a decision. So it's already grandfathered in at a variance with a variance, and now there's an additional variance on top of that being requested.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Cravette?
Yeah, hopefully this is something we can address as part of our current community plan and zoning bylaw. Is we're referring to it as a caretaker unit, and from what from all the information provided, it is actually a primary resident. And are we going to look at clarifying that in the upcoming community plan and zoning bylaw, to whether we're going to allow for primary residence within a commercial lot? I know a lot of other communities allow it. To me, caretaker's unit is something separate from a primary resident, meant for somebody who's not the owner of the property. Sort of, they've hired somebody to overlook the property, or they're a employee, etc. So I think the zoning bylaw needs to make sure that we clarify this.
Thank you. Any other, Councillor Campbell?
Okay, the definition of a caretaker resident, what is it? Is it just in our bylaws saying 80 square feet? Or how much is it? Because we're just going to open up a big can of worms here if we go letting everybody go make a residence out of everything. I'm all for somebody developing everything, but everybody else is going to get involved too.
SAO.
The actual definition from our zoning bylaw, it's premises used for the accommodation of a person employed as a caretaker, janitor, manager, watchman, security guard, or superintendent by a licensed industrial or commercial use operating on the site. The caretaker unit shall be incidental to that industrial or commercial use. And further in, it does state the 80 square feet as a footprint for the caretaker unit, and that's all it speaks to it on. The current existing zoning bylaw.
Deputy Mayor, did you have a?
I was just clarifying in the briefing note where it states that the request is to expand the second floor of the building to increase the total size. And the footprint of the building wouldn't be affected by that expansion, but it's also a request to make room for the expanding family so they don't have to relocate to a new home. So just for people who haven't read everything on there.
Any other comments? Oh, Mayor Daniels?
Yes, when we're talking about building up and that, isn't there a place where after 8 feet, it's no man's land? I thought we ran into one of those things in the welfare center where it was encroaching, but it was 8 feet, so it was nobody's land, so it was out of there.
Councillor Bolio?
Yeah, that was in terms of the high water and stuff and the flooding that we were talking about, no man's land.
But anyway, like, from our bylaws and procedures and stuff, we need to bring them in line in place because they're getting complicated all over the place here. What is this? What is that? And we need to simplify these going forward here. Thanks.
SAO?
And just to clarify, the maximum building height for commercial is 12 meters, and that's for firefighting. So I don't know about the no man's land, but the 12 meters is in regards to being adequate to meet our firefighting requirements.
Is there any other comments, questions, or discussion? All right, we have a motion on, or Councillor Tucky? Okay, Councillor Tucky.
I don't think our bylaws are too much out of whack here. I mean, we're talking about a property that's been given a variance, that's been grandfathered in. I think the problem is, as council, are we going to allow to put a variance on top of a variance? And I'm not willing to do that because a variance covers a lot of options that can either go right or go wrong. We've just had a situation where we've had an organization that's had to completely move a building because we didn't allow that a variance because something went wrong there on their part. However, but if this property has already been given the variance and they've used up that variance, why are we going to give another variance on top of that? The one's been grandfathered in. So to me, if we're adding something on to something that's grandfathered, then we're actually negating the original variance. And I don't think we should be in that business myself.
Councillor Campbell?
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Tucky. If we already gave them once, let's just stick to and we're going to change everything on it. We're opening a big can of worms here.
Is there any other comments, questions, or discussion? Councillor Cruvette?
This will be my last comment on this. I don't know whether we're actually providing a further variance. We're not changing, the request is not actually changing the footprint of the building. It's just adding square footage upwards. And we have to look that we are, everybody around this table has at one point or another said we're in a housing crisis, and to try and put barriers to further developing housing in our community, even though it's a variance, I think it's fringing on being almost hypocritical of us to say, no, we're not going to allow a family to expand because of housing issues. Getting back to the original thing is, I think we need to address this under our zoning bylaw and community plan, whether it is in the future, whether we are going to allow primary residences to be built in commercial or industrial properties.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion from council? All right, so we have a motion on the floor. All in favor? So I have 1, 2, 3. 3 in favor? Yes, for approval. Yep. So, sorry, man. So 3 in favor, opposed? 3 opposed. We have a tie. Mayor Daniels? Yeah, still. Mayor Daniels, we have a tie. That means that you have to be the final say. In favor of? Thank you. Motion is carried. Moving on our agenda now to the next recommendation. Can I have someone please read it in?
I move that DPA 005-24A submitted by Jessica Carrier to operate a home occupation for counseling services, Soulful Heart Inc., from Lot 588, Plan 319 at 27 Wren Crescent in Fort Smith, is again left blank.
And I need a seconder.
I'll second it.
Okay, open for discussion. Councillor Campbell?
Here I go again. We're going to be giving another home occupation to a business that we have to get them out there in the community. They get a big advantage operating out of their home. And is this going to create more traffic into the 27 Wren Crescent? And we got to use our bylaws. We always say we're going to follow through, but every other home occupation has lots of vehicles parked out front and everything, equipment, and we're not following through. We ask this time and time again if they're going to follow with the bylaw officer enforcing the vehicles parked out front and everything, the equipment. But we say we are, and we don't follow through at anything we're doing. Thanks.
Any other discussion? Councillor Tucky?
Well, I do agree with what Councillor Campbell is saying. I believe council also has to recognize the fact that there are home businesses that are made to run out of homes. Someone who's just going to use an office for counseling or doing bookkeeping, that kind of stuff, it would not be in their best interest to go out and buy a lot and build a building to do that kind of work. And we have to keep certain things in mind. The problems that we are having, and I think there's a lot of violations in Fort Smith right now, are the people who are saying there's going to be no traffic, but there is increased traffic, and there's sometimes 6, 7 vehicles parked in those lots that make them look very ugly. And there are situations where we do have to enforce the bylaws, and there's other situations where home occupations are exactly what they are. Home occupations, an office space, telephone, whatever, provide counseling services, bookkeeping services. And I think we have to keep that in mind when we make these decisions, whether or not we're going to approve or disapprove of what's in front of us. Thank you.
Any other comments or discussion? Okay. All in favor? No? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 5 in favor, all opposed? And then 2 abstentions? Okay. All right, the recommendation is carried. Moving on to the next, if I could have someone read it in.
I move that DPA -009-24 submitted by Jody Ann Brown to operate a home occupation cleaning service, Jody's Spotless Cleaning Service, from Lot 1787, Plan 4341, 130 Wilderness Road in Fort Smith is or is not blank.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Discussion? No discussion? Mayor, or Deputy Mayor?
So there is already a business license for this place already for kitchen services. So this is an augmentation of this or a separate business?
SAO?
The very last line says this is a request to grow an already existing business. Consideration be given to the operation as a whole. So it's to grow an existing.
Councillor Campbell?
See, here we're going, a home business growing, and they're not expanding out into the community, buying property or anything. We're just letting them stay at home, gainfully win over that with staying in their own little place and bring more traffic into the area. I keep going back to the same old story again. We got to get them out into the field and buying some property. There's property available around town.
Deputy Mayor?
Well, I'm not opposed to what Councillor Campbell's saying. There are some businesses that, I mean, like if you're doing a home cleaning business, it's easier to be based out of your home than to have a storefront. But there is a shortage of already available storefront businesses on there, so I'm sure that's being addressed by the EDAP committee, right?
Councillor Crevette?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Economic Development Advisory Board is meeting next Thursday, and there are recommendations have been circulated, and they'll be coming to council following that meeting. And this is all part of the process of preparing for the bylaw review committee to look at and update the business bylaw. And it's just a comment I'll throw out there is that I see that once we do have a new business licensing bylaw, I would highly suggest that we seriously consider that home businesses previously approved have to resubmit applications to ensure that that they fall within the newly established guidelines that might come forward under the business licensing bylaw.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion on the floor or the recommendation on the floor? Okay, all in favor? All in favor except for one abstention, which is Kevin Campbell. Councilor Campbell. All right, moving on the agenda to the next recommendation, please.
I move that DPA -012-24 submitted by Jeffrey O'Keefe to operate a home occupation consulting business, Fortitude Insights, from Lot 744, Plan 416, 18 Field Street in Fort Smith is or is not approved.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any other discussion? No discussion on the recommendation? Okay. All in favor? All but one abstention. Thank you. Okay, to the next one, folks.
I move that DPA 014-24 submitted by Michael Lafferty to operate a home occupation electrical business, Dene Electrical Services from Lot 942, Plan 1159, 27 St. Mary Street in Fort Smith is approved.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Discussion from the floor. Any discussion, comments? Okay, seeing none. All in favor? All, and then one abstain. Okay, to the next one there.
I move I move that DPA 015-24 submitted by Exanja Free to operate a home occupation production business, Masicho Productions from Lot 1417, Plan 1835 at number 1 St. Alphonse Drive in Fort Smith is or is not approved.
I need a seconder.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there discussion? Counselor Cravette?
Just point out this is for a online web-based sales. So concerns about traffic would be all virtual.
Discussion? Questions? Okay, motion on the floor. All in favor? All but one. Okay, thank you. Moving on.
I move that council approve the recommendation to make lot 1236, plan 1588, zoned R1. No civic address in Fort Smith is available for sale at the proposed price of $25,618 is or is not approved.
I'll second that.
All right, discussion? Counselor Campbell?
I'm all for selling land in Fort Smith, but where did this $25,618 come from? Because our other land is up a lot higher. So I'd like to know where this number come from. Thanks.
SAO?
Within the briefing note, the current properties for sale in the town of Fort Smith average $52.50 per square meters. The lot in question, sitting at $609.95, that would place it at $32,022. Since the lot has no road access or utility hookups available, we suggest reducing the price point by 20%, putting the final price proposal at $25,618. So it's an unserviced, unaccessed lot at this time.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
What prompted this to come up for sale? I'm not sure. We have many other lots in the West Grove subdivision that are for sale right now, but this isn't even accessible.
SAO?
A request was submitted by local citizens inquiring about purchasing the above described lot, though it's not currently listed. So it was just a request that came in about that.
Counselor Campbell?
Are we just going to get somebody buying a lot and hanging on to it because we have no road access into it or anything? what is going to be the procedure of them building? We complain about everybody buying lots up and not doing anything with it. We got to have them going forward with it.
Deputy Mayor?
So is it then behooving of the town to put a road access in there? Is it actually scheduled to have a road put in there or not? I can't remember looking at the blueprints.
SAO?
I'd have to look into that one. I don't believe there's any plans to actually access it. And just in response to Councillor Campbell, I don't believe we actually have a commitment to build policy in place right now. That might be something we discuss further within our zoning bylaw, or if we look at plans down the road to improve, to increase development. But at this time, we don't currently have a requirement to build in any purchases, I don't believe.
Thank you. Councillor Cravette?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not prepared to make a decision on this. I would actually like a little more information. One of the questions jumps to mind, is this being purchased by an owner of an adjacent lot, which makes a lot of sense? If not, the questions Councillor Campbell brought up sort of popped to mind. Why are they buying a lot in the middle of a unaccessible piece of property? So I would suggest that this motion be tabled until we receive a briefing note with additional information.
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
I'll second his motion. Tabling it.
So point of order, we have to then, we have to finish the one that's on the floor right now. So you defeat this and then you can bring up the second, your recommendation. So if there's no other further discussion on the motion on the floor, which is the recommendation for council to approve this, all in favor? No. Table it? Oh,
Yeah, just a point of order is that we're wanting to table a motion, which I believe is in order.
perfect. So then SAO will follow up with briefing note.
I just would like to know exactly what more you want. So I've got down, is this being purchased by an owner of an adjacent lot, which I believe is yes. What plans for further development? Is the town emboldened to do any or have any plans for further development? That's the second question. Was there other information you would like within the briefing note, please?
Mayor Daniels?
Yeah, it'd be like if they bought this lot and if we're not doing the roadside, how do they get onto their lot? Like, we don't want them sitting there for the next 40 years like some people have done in the community either. Is where's our common ground here? How do we fix this? Because I don't want, for me, myself, I wouldn't want someone building in 5 years' time, because that doesn't do anything good for me as the mayor. We need money here. We need people building here to deal with our infrastructure. For me, 5 years, that's kind of too late for me. It just, if they want to break ground, let's get them that answer. How do we get them to break ground this year? Like, I'm being very pushy on it. Yes, I am, because we need money for our infrastructure. So that's one of my questions. How do we work together? And we even did think about these people buying lots, wanting to build. How does the town get involved in that? Maybe if you're building a shop, maybe we shut the meter off for taxes for 2-3 years. I know it has come up. And then once they move into their place, then the meter turns on. It just, we got to start working with our business people as well, whatever they want. Let's meet them. I know it hasn't been done like that in the past of Fort Smith, but it's a new vision, and we should be working with our construction people. So thanks.
All right, motion, or Councillor Cravette?
Yeah, just the final point of clarification is why we would be offering a discount. I think we establish a fair market rate per square meter. If it's a stranded piece of property and you want it, well, this is the going rate for property in town based on the square meterage of the property.
Okay, so motion to table. All in favor? Okay, it's tabled, so. Oh, you vote in favor, finally voted. Okay, in favor of something. There we go. So we're moving on the agenda. The emergency, no, okay, so emergency preparedness briefing. SAO?
We've put out a lot of public service announcements lately. I just thought council would just like to know sort of what, because council did give this as a priority to administration to focus on emergency preparedness. I just thought I'd give you a quick update of where we're at and where we're going. So we did conduct the operational focused after action review, and the list of the recommended preparation activities were identified, included finalizing the after action report, including the review by participants, developing timelines, resource requirements, implement the recommendations, and update the emergency plan. As well, public education, engagement events, training, ICS 100, organization-wide, 200 and 300 as appropriate, ongoing public education outreach, tabletop exercise with updated plans. So those were sort of our go-tos following that review. Those are the recommendations contained therein. Currently, we have finished the after action review. It's finalized. It's been distributed to council. The summary one-pager was developed, and we've given it out at the trade show as well as at council's coffee house event. I was trying to remember what it was called. The emergency plan has been updated and shared to our local emergency management organization members. Copies provided at the trade show, during the reflections with council, and also available online. The emergency guide was updated and was shared at the trade show, at the reflections with council, online, at town hall, and at recreation, the CRC, as well as the summary mail out. Everybody should have seen that in their mailboxes and at the post office in the last few days. The training, 95% of our staff has obtained their ICS 100 to date. I'm actually unsure of council status, who all has got their 100, who hasn't. The SAO and Director of Municipal Services were able to attend a MACA-sponsored training. They had a couple of extra spots, so I've got my 200. The Director of Municipal Service, he got his 200 and his 300. We have identified a communications officer. That was one of the big recommendations, is having somebody emergency communications officer. So at one point, whether they're evacuated or they're here in town, they will have all of the materials and the ability to get communications out on all venues as quick as possible. On June 10th to the 15th, we're scheduled to have ICS 200, ICS 300, and the tabletop exercises for the emergency management committee members, as well as additional staff as space permits. Key staff have been identified to take these courses at the different levels or all the way through. Public service information materials have been developed, and they were distributed at trade show, reflections with council, website, and Facebook, and we're ongoing with that. That is a constantly evolving process as we move forward. Right now, we're working at developing Fire Smart service, where our members of our fire team will go out and, using the wildfire, the Fire Smart app, actually assess properties. It's a free assessment for different properties. So that information will be going out this week. We're just finalizing the plans around that one and the dates. Where else am I? The alertable sign-up campaign is underway. Test number 1 was completed. During a real emergency, it will be louder. We found it somewhat underwhelming when it popped up and said, "This is a test." Did everybody here receive their alertable test? I was hoping it would scare everybody a little louder, but it was fairly subtle. But apparently it will be louder when it actually comes out. We are giving priority focus to the unsightly lands and fire prevention bylaws right now. So that's where the bylaw team is really, really focused, going around and really going after the unsightly laws and fire protection in order to have more people clean up their yards, so that we can focus our resources on the perimeters of town and not have to focus it on individual fires within town. The SMC preparedness meeting, April 24th, is focused on emergency preparedness and status updates. We have our first LEMO, Local Emergency Management Organization, kickoff is this Thursday. Structure protection equipment has been inventoried and additional is on order. Fire Smart RFQ is underway. The team, as well as a local professional, have assessed around town and identified key areas to utilize our Fire Smart budget on. And we're looking at developing an evacuation food supply RFQ, both for evacuation in, if we're the recipient of, if we're hosting an evacuation. I don't know if that's the right word, hosting, but if people are coming to us and we have them here, so having a food supplier, having those RFQs in place, as well as if having a provision of services for the essential personnel in case of an evacuation out. Any questions?
Mayor Daniels?
Yeah, this is the only time I get to talk. Where are we on CCANs? That went out in winter time. We're supposed to have an answer here. I've got people on hold. Don't worry about your CCANs. I'll get to you. Nothing has come out on our beautifying Fort Smith or whatever campaign that is I wanted to take a look at the language in there, because I'm thinking, and I've said it before, is we're into people's faces a little bit too much there. And I wanted to back off from it. Is when you come to a person's house, we shouldn't be saying, well, you need to change your roof tiles. We don't know what that family went through. Maybe his wife's sick or he's sick or something. If it leaks, they will change it. We're getting a little bit too pushy there. We're starting arguments where we don't have to. It's their lot. They're paying the price for it. They're putting their house on there. It's like little things like that I would like to back off, and I keep on saying it, but we're not getting there. And with their CCANs, it's a big one. These people got CCANs in their place, and I think it's fine. You want to paint it up. Put it in the back of your place. I don't really care. Let's get on with this. It's like we're holding a board. Do they have to move it? Where are they going to move it? We don't have any lots room. There is no rental lots, or maybe there is, but maybe those people don't have the money for it. I really like to take things before we just spit them out the door. And that's just the way I see it. So I don't really think we need to be bothering people. It's a small community. I mean, let's work together. There's some of this stuff has been laying around for ages. It hasn't been dealt with. Yes, I realize that. We are the ones who have to deal with it. Yes, but there's a certain way of going about it. So, thanks.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mary Daniels. Those are valid points, but I'm going to bring us back around to the topic at hand right now is emergency preparedness. I was just wondering if there's going to be some discussion amongst all the businesses and those who stayed around. There was at our fire meeting last week, it was Reflections with Council. It was very well attended. There was over 60 people. We heard a lot of good discussion and comments, and there was a lot of people who, especially some of the businesses who stayed behind, who play key critical roles in getting provisions here if they're going to be talked to and see what they can identify for going forward, especially with some buildings in town that are government buildings and that type of thing. And also, I would like to make a motion that in light of the unsightly lands being pushed forward and trying to encourage everybody to clean up things, that we exempt fees for having the town pick up things for this spring, in light of hoping that we can make some areas clean.
I'll second the motion for the waiver of fees during the cleanup period.
Is there a timeline? Like a specific start and stop?
I believe the town has it set up for May the 17th, or I can't remember the dates. I'm sorry, SAO.
Council Campbell?
Does that include businesses and everything? Like industrial, commercial, residential?
Okay.
SAO?
First off, to get back to I just lost your name, Curl's first question. Yes, actually, we have, that is one of the items on the LIMO agenda, is engaging local service providers and ensuring that what service providers are required and what their plans are around that, as well as I do have meetings set up with local service providers, one specific couple specifically from the trade show that we spoke to together. So I do have that. In regards to the second point, I believe I've looked at the spring cleanup poster. It's my first time how we do it here. There are limitations around the industrial level stuff that can be put out. It's mostly yard waste and small household items, I believe. I think there is a weight limit because it's just guys going around with the truck, right? So I don't think it's a big industrial pickup. I would have to clarify on that one. Sorry, I would have to clarify on that one and have that that poster.
Thank you, Mayor Daniels.
Yeah, I'd be very careful if we're going to get into industrial, because we have some companies here have been stockpiling over ages, and we're not going to be touching those. So
Is this an amendment to the motion to just be residential spring cleanup?
Sure.
Or Tucky?
Should have one question in terms of spring cleanup and concerning what happened here last year, and not so certain about the future of this summer, how things are going to turn out. Has the town in any way, shape, or form approached people who have not developed land, which has turned into large lots of dry kindling and whatnot, to encourage them to fire smart their properties?
SAO?
Just to go back to one of the points is that we are kicking off Fire Smart, where we will go around and help you and assess properties and provide that advice and that support, if that's what you mean. And we are pushing the fire protection bylaw as well. But that is one of the big pushes we're doing is let us come and tell you how you can fire smart your yard and what will you do to help keep yourself safe and keep your neighbors safe. And really, really pushing that information for that one. Is that what you mean?
Well, that's basically what I'm getting at, and the concerns that I have is that on one occasion, while working the night shift, we've actually stopped a group of teenagers from, well, actually they had a fire in the bush, and we called the RCMP afterwards. We put the fire out. We booted the kids home or wherever. There's a real dangerous potential out there with summer being here. Kids who think they can start fires, and we have a lot of land within our community here that is, if it starts up, it's going to be like a furnace. That's all. It's really treacherous conditions out there if something happens. And I think we need to address that issue somehow.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Enhancing on what Councillor Tucky said, I know you'd spoken about different areas in town, like there's some lots of the town that need to be fire smarted as well, and those are going to be addressed this year. That was one of the other questions that came out from the community meeting that we had last week.
Council Prisoner?
Yes, in regards to the motion of the community cleanup and we don't know, is someone said the 17th has started? Okay, maybe we should go till the end of the month because I know we've been saying we're short staffed. So how are our staff going to go and pick up all these people's stuff they phone in that they need? So I say that we go till the end of the month. Thank you. At least 2 weeks. Thank you.
SAO?
That would use up a lot of the staff for that one, but what I would suggest is that you consider waiving some of the tipping fees at the landfill maybe for longer, but the actual pickup and cleanup would only be for that time. This does take a lot of our resources. You've got 4 equipment operators, 4 more laborers or maintainers, all of the available trucks. So that would severely handicap the town to perform any other regular maintenance. So I would suggest that you just look at maybe extending tipping fees a little longer, not the actual cleanup week.
I'm good with that, if you would extend the fees. Thank you.
Council Campbell?
Well, if we're short-staffed, let's put it out, get private sector out there cleaning, helping them. They could use their trucks in order and get some extra work.
All right, Councillor Tucky?
Well, question for the SAO, since this has been advertised, there has been a lot of people registering for the service?
SAO?
I would have to look into that and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so then the spring cleanup was to waive the fees, 13 to 17. Motion on the floor. That's correct? 13 to 17th. Okay, and the fees are going to be extended at the dump to the end of the month. Okay. All right. No, it's been all in favor. Okay. It's been unanimous. Motion carried. Okay, so then on our agenda, there was nothing under other business. We have all of us here, so there's no excusing of council. The date of the next Protective Service Standing Committee meeting will be on June 4th, 2024. And if I can have someone recommend to adjourn.
I move that the Protective Services meeting be adjourned at 7:55 PM.
I'll second it.
Meeting is adjourned, and you guys have some questions? Our meeting's over. Come on up.